Okay, so welcome to today's analysis of the NQ and a small bit of the ES. It is Friday, the 18th of October. Yesterday I didn't do a video. Just work got in the way. I was really tired, but that's okay. Let's have a quick run over what happened. What my views still are for the overall state of the ES, and maybe what could happen today. Fridays are a bit more difficult to I won't say predict, but to get a feel for what their focus is. But it's Friday, so we might as well take a look at the bigger levels as well, right? Okay, so what happened? So Asia on Thursday, yesterday, I watched this happen at work. This was kind of crazy. It just like slowed down to a halt slowly, and then just like it made a massive push. Like this push was like more, like it covered more ground than US did. Took all of this liquidity here. Now, I was expecting us to come up into this area to sort out these imbalances to put in a lower high on the NQ anyway. I said that we could kind of bounce inside this consolidation, and I was looking for longs inside here, but we just knifed through it and then ended up kind of not doing much. The ES did other things. The ES did more of what I expected the NQ to do, which was come into the consolidation and then push up. So the NQ did it. Or sorry, the ES did it, but the NQ didn't, which was interesting. But this was a huge kind of break of structure here. And you can see like the US pushed up a lot on the ES, and the NQ, it was actually still all internal. Like this whole push up. Anyway, they came down. Asia retested. Actually looks much nicer here, the PA. And then had this push up, which took the high again. Now, like ES is in price discovery. ES can keep coming into this basically infinite liquidity pool above us, right? But I like how NQ is still behaving inside, and also I'm sticking by the fact that the NQ not really moving up and putting in constant lower highs when higher highs in the ES are being made. To me, this just feels like a massive, like if we use the ES as an oscillator for the NQ, like the ES is constantly putting in highs and the NQ is diverging, basically, right? Constantly. And it's been doing this like since July. Like, now I know it's not for certain. If enough money comes into the ES, we could end up taking this high on the NQ. But I just find it kind of interesting that the ES keeps making higher highs and NQ is really struggling to push up. And the NQ is behaving relatively, you know, it's hitting levels, it's getting expected reactions from them. I like how it's behaving. So we had that push up, and then that created a massive gap, massive New York gap, right? RTH gap, and then they just filled that until Asia today. They just filled that during New York into Asia. Now this push up here, like it left like really ugly consolidation before the push. I was kind of looking at this area during US, and I was expecting it to come into this order block before pushing up, at least. And again, it just front ran it. But it's still on the cards that we come into here and find some support in this area, right? If anything, they've just made a lot more liquidity here. Coming down below this low is like, I just want to see how that plays out if we do. Because we're really testing structure there. Like, technically, we've already changed bearish on the NQ. I know this was an internal change of character, but like to me, this just screams lower high. Until I'm kind of proven otherwise. The greater narrative to me is bearish. You could argue that these highs have a lot of liquidity built, but I'm going to say they're relatively strong for now. Why? I guess it's more. It's not a hunch, but like it's just a feeling about how they manufactured liquidity here and what it came into. Let's remember the last time they filled an RTH gap 50%. You know, they just moved away from it. Now it doesn't mean it's going to happen again, but there is a chance that they come down and fill one of the, maybe this gap that they left, which is completely unfilled, below us, or they even, you know, they could come in to fill the rest of this. But I have my eyes on this imbalanced area that we created here on the 4 hour with this RTH gap down here. Okay, immediately, what do we have? Well, put on to the 5 minute on the NQ. Asia, at a kind of a weird time, I guess, but yeah, like around 1 o'clock today, which is just after lunch. They just pushed straight, like diagonally up, built a lot of liquidity under here. The Asia low is in a bit of a precarious location. If it's taken, like I would expect us to come into here and get a reaction, or I guess they could come deeper into this liquidity pool. But I'd be really cautious, like if they did come into here, about taking trades. But yeah, internally, what do we have? Well, we had some nice washes here during the US session. We broke structure. Like, this was just a violent push down. We recovered it nicely, took liquidity, and then pushed down internally, take more liquidity. Like, nice little wash. It's nice to see this during US, like this kind of wash. And then another break, which created the next internal break of structure. Now, I have it marked as a low liquidity break of structure because, you know, it was created, price moved sideways into Asia, and there was liquidity to be taken, which has been taken by UK right now. So what am I looking at? This consolidation here just has so many things overlapping, like so many things. It has nice naked point of control of this consolidation. Above it is the past range value area high of this whole region, right? Which has, I would say, kind of broken structure, kind of. The pulls here are kind of difficult to work around, but I would say that this is, you know, it's a bit of a change of character. Now, changes of character can be invalidated, of course, but I'm going to say for now that it is a change of character. Came into, no, we haven't come into it yet, but we have a lot of areas around here overlapping. We have nice liquidity building up. We have a few blocks here. This whole 10-minute block spans this demand area. We have a wash before it. It's coming to the top of a high volume node, right? This whole thing is a high volume node. It was kind of the source of this push. And it seems like we're getting kind of reactions from around it. Now, both the ES and the NQ have taken the Asian extremities, the Asian highs and lows. There is a chance that we pull back into here from this area. I don't know how deep. I don't know when. Over the next 30 minutes, I'm going to really monitor what price wants to do. We have kind of front run my levels at the moment. If we had come into here 25 minutes ago or 30 minutes ago, I would actually been nicely confident to take a short from here. So I have like timing models, and I will be talking about these in the future. But I have certain behaviors that I've mapped over the past, maybe, I don't know, I'd say like sample size is about 80 to 90 different days of PA. And they don't match up perfectly, obviously, but when certain things happen around certain times, under certain precedents or biases, then it can end up being a good guide for understanding what kind of program they're running for the day. So we've had liquidity taken at the right time on ES, but we didn't actually come into areas that I like to come into, which is kind of blocks. I focus blocks, which is why I'm a bit cautious. We still have a small bit of time for maybe this, but we've had, it seems like a break of structure a bit early. I was hoping to get something like this, or maybe this, right? It's a big flush, an extension. If we get a liquidity hunt here and price moves sideways, it could be a nice short. If we come into this area, it could be a nice short. Oh, we've had no break of structure yet. This is just a liquidity grab. So I'm eyeing up shorts from this area. Now, I guess they could come into the New York liquidity pool, and I'm aware of this being a pull, a greater pull that probably needs a lot more volume to get into and to react from. I'm aware of that, but which is kind of why I don't know if I would target this Asian low for a short necessarily. Yeah, it actually, just a side note, around this time that the Asian low had this pump was at the same place, and around this, it's like an hour, give or take an hour, the same time that this one came. Kind of feels like it might be the same person, same institution, right? Very similar. I mean, that's just postulation. It could be just institutions doing their job very well, but yeah, I just thought it was interesting. This low, once they take this low, I don't know if they're going to stop before coming into here, which makes me feel like it's a bit of a US move. But then again, just because this could be a US move doesn't mean we can't get a short from UK into this structure for US to open, then take more liquidity perhaps, and then hit it down, right? Obviously, that can still happen. I really like, there's a lot of confluence around these areas. And there's two possible shorts here that I could take. There is a third, which is this high being taken. But if this high was taken, depending on what time it's taken at, I might take the short from there, but it feels like if they come into here, it's probably going to be US, and if it is US, they're not going to stop here. Seeming as so much has been mitigated here already, I feel like they would come into here while they're at it, right? Like, why wouldn't they if they've been able to push this? So I'm going to be looking for pretty convincing PA around here. And my, on certain taps of areas, depending on what structure I get in here, I might take something like this, or I might take something, like this, if they came and tapped into this liquidity pool, right? Depending on what we see, depending on when it happens. Right now, we have just taken liquidity. I would love to see this push up into this supply zone for a short. I think that would be really nice. Where would I target? Honestly, like, I wouldn't necessarily have so much of a location target, more so of a timing target. I would look to exit as a certain window approaches, be it this orange window, which for me, well, for London time is around half past 12, like 12:25, or the Brinks, or even just an hour or half an hour before the Brinks, which I would say is about 1 o'clock London time. I'd be looking for kind of a safe exit there, right? If the short did play out. A lot of this liquidity can get taken. I would maybe, if I wanted to play devil's advocate, we could assume that any of these structural points could be a take profit. Even just taking out the UK lows, or even coming a bit deeper in to fill this imbalance here, this green imbalance, this green vector, as a volume gap here. Something like this would be a nice safe trade. If it did play out, something like that, that'd be a lovely trade, right? We'll just have to see. I would like it to come up pretty soon, and kind of get pretty violent pushes in to show me that they're actually trying to fill orders desperately in these blocks, for me to hop on a trade. But if I see what I'd like to see, I'm gonna take it. Okay, so that's, I mean, look at this, like, right? But again, they can build this and they can leave it like they did here, right? They can just leave it and then push up and short squeeze and then bring it down for US. Like, when you trade the UK session, you gotta understand that sometimes they'll just grind up, and your narrative can be in play, or your narrative can be valid, but it probably might not just happen for the next, I don't know, 5 hours or something, which is fine sometimes. If you're able to trade the US session, that's great. Yeah. Okay, so what is the greater narrative implications of this? Well, I've been saying it all week. My idea hasn't really changed. Hasn't really changed. This, to me, seems kind of like a lower high to kind of come into a consolidation area here somewhere and get a higher low. Like, I guess I'm cautious. I wouldn't say I'm like bearish, because I'm going to take longs if they present themselves in certain contexts. Like, I'm not tied to one narrative, but I would say the forefront of my decisions is always that I'm cautious of what we're doing and what we have been doing on both the ES and the NQ. The ES is a bit trickier because it's in price discovery and it can just keep pushing up. So, you know, like, this is a bit of a red herring for my caution. I'm relatively cautious with the NQ. Like, the ES can push up, make a brand new high, all-time high, and have a very violent pullback, which for the NQ could break structure. You know? So, yeah, I'm just aware of what we're able to do. And now that we filled this RTH gap 50%, even though we kind of front ran some levels, this could be enough for them to pull back in. So that could happen next week. Could not. They might be leaving this for a longer time. Like, these are big pools of liquidity. Right? These are big pools. They could push it up, right up into here. Now, I've noticed that maybe not as many people use the CME chart, right? The CME chart shows that we haven't come into this consolidation yet, but if you look at the NAS 100, the CFD chart, we have come into this consolidation. Now, I'm not going to do separate analysis for the NAS 100, unfortunately. Hopefully you can take my levels, which I will post in the Discord, and use them in conjunction with this chart if you're trading it. I don't necessarily know how to get around the fact that I'm using charts that are locked behind data. But I will continue using these charts because these are the ones that are kind of more significance to them, right? Yeah. So, I might end up posting a cleaner version of my higher time frame charts, just for you to see what has happened on different charts, on the CME and things like that. And I'll probably start noting liquidity that's been taken on one chart over the other. I mean, that's the best thing I can do, is that this was taken on this chart, but it wasn't on the CME, something like that, or other way around, right? So yeah, that'll take a small bit more planning, but in the future, I suppose I can do that. Was that the short? They could have completely. See, that's the thing. They could completely front run this whole area and just leave this for US. You know, did it come into anything that I would trade? I don't like that block. Nope. No. No. Yeah, well, this idea could be correct, but we'll just have to see, right? There's so many levels up here, and they just blatantly front run them. Yeah, it happens. All right. So that's what I'm seeing today. UK could just play around up here for US. They do that a lot. Overall, I'm still cautious. You know, this move by no doubt got a lot of people pretty bullish, right? This move was, I was looking at this with raised eyebrow. I was like, what is going on here? And look at this, we've recovered the whole thing. Like we came right back into the source of it, and then we had this kind of pitiful push up from Asia. Like, this to me, and everyone was like, news. It's like, man, okay, maybe earnings did something, but the chart will show you if something is true, like really true, right? And to me, it hasn't proven that this is a very, very true move yet. Now, hedge funds, institutions can position themselves in ways that this is a really strong add to a position they have from like all the way down here, like, right, or like even lower, right? They're pricing in things that we don't even recognize, right? So yeah, like, just because this happened, like, don't think they can't come in here and be really happy about coming in here, you know? Every time something like this happens and they leave gaping areas of liquidity here, they're even happier that they did that, because more and more people are putting like swing positions down here. Like, that's what they want. So yeah, internally, I would like to see us come into this area on the NQ, and get support shown here, right? Like strong wicks, strong buying up from here, in order to see us continue up. Like, I would like to see that. When that happens, I don't know. But internally, even just for Asia, we've left a lot of liquidity here, and we have some strong catalysts above us. I'm not going to do much TA on the 1 minute necessarily right now. I mean, you know, UK opened on a change of character, which was low liquidity. It took internal liquidity very much so, had a very sharp push up, and now we've already come back down into it. Could this just grind its way up slowly over the UK session to come into these greater demand zones? Sure. Will I take along if it's screaming at me that that's what they want to do? Yeah, maybe. But overall, if I want to cover what can happen during US potentially and the UK, I'm going to be zooming out to the 15 and telling you what I see, which is what I've done. I would mark this now as a bearish break of structure internally that has nice liquidity taken. If this gets invalidated, I'll update it, right? Depending on how we deal with this area and when, this might become completely invalidated. This could become the stronger one. And then next week, it pushes up from here to take liquidity to come down again or something, right? But for now, I'm just noting that there are pulls. There are strong pulls here. And we're so nested. we're so nested within bullish structure that we can actually afford strong pullbacks and still be equally bullish. You know, like this is so nested that me wanting or not wanting, but thinking about a full push down to clear lower liquidity internally isn't actually as bearish as it sounds. But yeah, we're coming into like elections and stuff next month. They could just completely suspend this thing for another month in preparation for elections, right? And then just like, I don't know, the true moves could come then. It's very much so. It's manipulated shit we're dealing with. Like, they could just do that. But as long as you're aware of what can happen, your trades will be a bit more informed. All right, that's it. Happy trading, guys. Have a good weekend. Be careful with Fridays, of course. They can just make big moves for taking profits. Whether that's up or down, I don't know. But this is what I see. This is my TA for today. So I hope it helps. All right, peace, guys, and we'll see you next week.